live. Hopefully sound is working and everything's good. Welcome to this stream of the top 16 MHT versus Bastian. This is game 2. I streamed some commentary of game 1 with Matt after he'd completed the game, a stream of the replay. So if you haven't seen that, you can go back and check that out. Cool. Thank you, Adam, for confirming my sound's working. Appreciate that. So I imagine it's almost midnight Eastern time. I imagine most people who, Star Wars people who are subscribed, are already in bed. But we'll post a link to this on the forums after for those who want to watch the replay here. So I wanted to try something kind of cool, which was get the replay from both players' perspectives. So that's why you're seeing sort of double here on the right and left hand side. I got the replay from Bastian, who is the light side player here on the right hand side of your screen, and the replay from Matt, who is the dark side player here on the left side of your screen. And the idea was to sync them up so I could hit play, and then it would show the exact same thing but from each player's perspective, so you could see their hands. And for some reason, when I did this, when I recorded the each replay separately, so then I could combine them together in one clip and then hit play on the whole thing and hit pause on the whole thing, it would set up to where the cards would flash like knowledge and defense, right, and anger and fear aggression, and their starting cards would flash at the exact same time. You know, I got it timed, but then slowly over the course of the approximately 20 minutes it took to do the replay, they got off, and they were both at the same speed. The replays, I checked up a bunch of times, the replays were at the same speed as each other, but just, I think due to slight computer lag, one ended up taking about 9 seconds more than the other, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of 21 minutes, what it means is after about 2 minutes, you're 1 second off, which is super annoying to watch, because it'll be like card flashes on one screen, then the other screen. And it's just like so visually distracting when it's like character deployed. And so I was like, all right, that's not working. I tried it multiple times. I tried to crop just the beginning and just the end, and the one was just too long, just because whenever I would go to record it, slight computer lag made them like 1%. I calculated it was less than 1% off, but by the time that adds up, and then if they're not perfect, it's just annoying to watch. So I had to scrap that idea, unfortunately. Hopefully that can be figured out at some future point, because I do think that would be fun. But we're going to do a similar idea here, which is essentially what I'm going to do is go ahead and play both replays, but we're just going to have to pause one and watch the other for a little bit, and we'll kind of go back and forth. So we'll see each of the turns from both players' perspective as they're happening. So we'll go back and forth between the sort of light and dark side player and what's going on with each of them. All right, so that's sort of the background on the stream itself. Background to this game. Matt got first in his pod. I don't remember. He was pod H. He was the eighth number one seed. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Yeah, H. So Matt was in pod H. Bastian, of course, was in pod A, the first number one seed. But Crazy Runner Guy went 4-0 in Bastian's pod and took the number one spot. So Bastian took second there, which meant Bastian and Matt got matched up there in the first round of the round of 16. In the first game, Matt played a no idea deck, which Bastian was not expecting. Bastian played a CCT mains deck that just wasn't really packing anything for no idea. He didn't even ever deploy Imperial Decree. I don't think it was in the deck. And that's like the base card, your sort of minimum necessary to deal with no idea. And the fact that he didn't deploy that, didn't find that or do anything with that all game, that was rough. And then of course no idea could just with their weapons protection and they're going wide and doing all kinds of their movement tricks and stuff like that. give Dark Mains a really hard time. So, and that's what Matt did, and he ended up winning by 24. I think he got retrieval with 10 min and walkling and all that. So he won that by 24. They did have to submit both of their lists before the entire match started. So these two, this light and dark list that we're about to see, these were already submitted to Robbie, the tournament director. Shout out to Robbie for doing an awesome job running this. So it's not like right here, Bastian could be like, "Oh, let me switch to a hidden base lock where I'm doing a bunch of quad laser cannons and Luke and flipping after I've killed all the ships or anything like that, so I can win by 30." Nothing like that. They've already got their decks going in. Bastian knows he's down 24, and so then they play this game. So you'll see how they're flashing off for a second, and I'm not going to bother to spend the like 3 minutes it would take to get them to flash at the exact same time, because like I said, they'd slowly eke their way off, and within about a minute or two, they'd be a full second off after 2 minutes. And this is not even a full second off. This is only a fraction of a second, so it gets really annoying. But I'm going to go ahead and just get both games going. So we can start here. And what we've got going on here is we've got pause both of these here. We've got Bastian is our dark side player here on the left, and scratch that, reverse it. Matt is our dark side player on the left here, and he's chosen Huntdown. Huntdown is, they had to submit their lists already, but if you were submitting a list after, Huntdown wouldn't have been a bad call, just because that visage damage can really eat away at the opponent, and if you're trying to get them down below 24, it wouldn't have been a bad call. So that's nice for Matt that he has Huntdown as an option. On the flip side, Bastian here has No Idea, and No Idea's favorite match, I would think, is Huntdown. Every location that the dark side plays, whether that's the 2 executor sites, whether that is the security tower that they pull with sonic bombardment, whether that is the Vader's castle that Vanny pulls, all of those just become huge liabilities. And Huntdown has very, very poor space generally. I think the last time Huntdown had good space was a Huntdown combat response deck back in 2015 or so. That was a fun deck. Maybe 2016. I think Reed had a version, and but we haven't seen Huntdown with much space in a long time. At best, you might have like a Emperor shuttle. Usually, don't even see Mara's ship because you don't have a ton of pilots for it, and you want Mara on the ground. So you might have an Emperor shuttle. You might have like a Mole set the Infiltrator to cloak, but not really much. So what that means is Light is going to be able to go to the system and go to one of their sites, either the beach to drain 2 or the vault to pick up Stardust and start doing that ping damage. And then they'll be draining free, and then they can just go to all the dark side locations. They can be like, I'm just going to drop on all your Twixes and good luck defending them all, and they'll just start piling on the damage. And of course, all the characters being spies, Visage is hard to defend, so dark side will want to get like ideal an Emperor or something there to the Hollow Theater early, protecting that Visage. So Matt's game plan in this clearly is to just whittle away at Bastian. If he can just keep forcing Bastian to devote resources, that's how he's going to win. If Bastian needs to draw cards, if Bastian needs to deploy more guys because Matt's putting pressure on him, Matt's attacking him, that's how Matt is going to win this match. He's not going to win the game. There's very little chance that Huntdown will beat No Idea when you've got 2 top players. Maybe if you're maybe Matt's Huntdown could beat a No Idea player piloted by someone a lot less experienced, but I don't think someone of Bastian's caliber. And so but Matt's not playing to win. He's playing to lose by less than 24. And so that's his path to that. On the flip side, Bastian's path to winning the match, like I said, he should win the game. To winning the match by 24 and then going to lost piles, or ideally 25, is deploy as little as possible. The minimum you need to hold locations. Try and get damage through, and try and shut off Darkside's damage. So what that would look like is getting a spy here to cancel Visage early. It would mean probably Walkling or drawing into Projection of a Skywalker is a very common card played. And so if you can stick that on the Darkside's location where they're draining you. Menace Fades is another card often played that can counter Vader's lightsaber, which we see I Am Your Father there is going to be pulling that. And so if you're Bastian and you can pile a system with enough guys, play cat and mouse as you need to, and then really shut down the Dark's damage, turn off Visage, reduce their drains on the ground, and then just start doing a lot of damage yourself, you can win by 25 to 30. That's not, it wouldn't be unheard of for No Idea to just really roll Hunt down pretty hard. Especially if they can get Luke Skywalker up in space. It means you can't drain one at the system because Hunt down would be flipped, and you can't drain where you have a Jedi or Skywalker drain or initiate battles. But that would kind of be okay with Matt if he gives up a drain of one, or with Bastian, if he gives up a drain of one to just be ping retrieving one every turn. That could keep his loss pile low, keep his life force high, keep it up in that 25 plus range. He'll have the once per game Walkling, and of course he'll have ping retrieval whenever they do battle. If he draws a spy, 100 min will let him retrieve one. So that's Bastian's path, is to try and mitigate the Darkside's damage and really keep his loss pile low via retrieving with 10 min and Luke and things like that. So let's see how this goes. Darkside player, of course, is going to go first. And Matt will play Sonic just to pull the 2/2. I doubt he's going to deploy that because it just gives No Idea another place to go, another location to defend. The only place you'd really deploy that, the only time you'd really deploy that is if you wanted to just start getting fast damage. You throw an Emperor there, or Sidious, or whatever, some kind of character there, and just start paying 3 to drain 2. And it's not great, but in a match where you're like, I just got to get him down by 24 and I'm just going to kind of start eking out damage, it would be an okay play. But typically, Darkside isn't going to deploy this. They're going to want to minimize the number of battlegrounds, because if they can take over both the Scarif battlegrounds, then Light won't be able to satisfy Come Here, You Big Coward, so they won't be able to drain at the non-battlegrounds. They won't be able to retrieve. So Dark theoretically is like, well, if I take over both, if I just pile guys on both sides. Probably won't happen because there's just so many guys Light can pile, but it is one option, and deploying the Downtown Plaza just doesn't really help you there. So Matt, he's just pulling a 0 out of his deck, basically. Goes and plays something special. Having that extra grabber is nice. You never know what kind of cards. Bastian's the type of player that will abuse used interrupts on you. So grabbers are nice. And Matt goes ahead and just draws a few. Meanwhile, if we switch over here to the light side and we catch up there, we see that the dark deploys some stuff. And all right, so now we are at the end of Darkside's turn. We're gonna let light side go here. So over here on the left, we're gonna stop looking at that screen, and we're gonna switch over to the right screen here, where we'll see this turn from Matt's perspective, Bastian's perspective. I keep flipping who is who because Matt just played No Idea in that last game, so now I keep thinking Matt's the No Idea player, but of course Bastian's the No Idea player this time. You all know what I mean. So Bastian's going to take his first turn here, and he's got the beach in his hand, which means his if he decides to do a pull with his objective, he can pull out a ship there up to Scarif, and that wouldn't be a bad play. He doesn't have a ton of force because Dark didn't give him any, but doing something like Bright Hope is good. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes down with us. He doesn't have any protection, and I didn't see what was in his deck when he pulled that docking bay, but if he has Hujix, It's a Trap, things like that, he may want to come down with just like an instant Chad and just or tight Taidu and just be like, come at me, waste a dude, I'm going to kill your Visage. But if he doesn't have any protection, it might take a couple guys. Oh, okay. And so Bastian opts for Leia. And that's an interesting move because, like I mentioned earlier, when Hundown's flipped, as soon as that Vader comes down, this Leia can't drain. So you are shutting off your ability to drain here. However, you're not going to be draining there for a while anyway once Vader comes down because you're going to have to satisfy simple tricks or Community Big Coward first. By the time that happens, like maybe you're battling Vader, maybe you've got other guys to the other one, maybe you're going to other sites. It's like she at least can draw on her own. I mentioned, if you throw it on Instant Chad, you're going to need a Hujix, you're going to need a Nitsa Trap, you're going to need some kind of protection, some barriers or whatever. And Matt might have the counters in his hand. Like we see what's in his hand, but of course Bastian doesn't. And there might be they're still coming through or blast door controls or something like that in his hand. So he opts to just take the safer play with Leia. She can draw Destiny on her own. She hopefully won't get overflowed too much. But Bastian knows if he leaves that Visage there, and that's just eating him 2 every round, 1 on each player's turn, he's going to quickly fall below the amount of life force he needs. So he says, turn 1, kill that Visage. Excuse me. And then I imagine he'll just opt to draw a couple. So he gets a ship. He did have the escape pod, so he'll be able to pull a Hujix as needed. And so now, if we switch over and we look at this from Matt's perspective, we're at his, we just got a little spoiler on the other screen. Matt activates and he goes ahead and he deploys Vader to the data vault and looks for a saber with I'm your father, and it wasn't in there. He must have activated it. He uses accelerate to get the bridge. And I feel like he would need to deploy someone like Tarkin with Vader. And he does. And the reason for that is the data vault cancels all immunity. So Vader's just sitting there really naked, basically. Any dude who draws Destiny like this Rey, a couple of spies, whatever, they can just come down, draw any battle Destiny. As long as it's not a 0, Vader would die. So Matt, of course, doesn't want that to happen. He throws down Tarkin to go with the Vader. Now that's a little more formidable. Vader can cancel someone's text, like Saw, who's super annoying. Tarkin can add a Destiny. He can redraw less than number Imperial. So if Matt draws a 1, he can redraw that. So that's a little more annoying. If you're Bastian, you may just want to go to the beach and pull battle plans and just eat the drain of 1 for a little bit. Set up your stuff. So we're over on the left screen. So he pulls Tarkin. He's got 1 force left. He goes ahead and draws, and it's a weapon lev. That's a cute card to have as a trick, but it's not going to do anything against No Idea, whose only weapon typically is Baze, sometimes an EPP Luke. All right, so now we switch back over to Lightside's turn, and Bastian, let's take a look at what's in his deck. He's got Guts, so he's prepared for Scum. He's got that Menace Fades. He's got Relatively Unprotected, so he's prepared for TTO. He's got Free Ride Combo, so he's prepared for Occupation. So Bastian's deck looks like a very balanced No Idea. He's basically, he's got answers to everything in his deck. If you were looking to build a good No Idea deck, I mean, just looking at that, I like the looks of how he's got some of these answers. He's got that Wedge and Chip for Scum. He's got the evac control for Limiting Destinies. It's got a lot of different, keep your eyes open is a good answer for stuff. And then just, loads of characters. So it's somewhat standard, but it feels to me like a little more protection against the field than you might otherwise see. You don't always see Guts. A lot of times you do, because Scum can be a really bad matchup. You don't always see Menace Fades. A lot of times you do, but you don't necessarily always see Relatively Unprotected. I'd say most of the time you don't. Sometimes you do. Free Ride Combo, that's pretty rare. That might have been just because he put Matt on maybe Entanglements or something like that. But he has a lot of answers in this, and there's that projection of a Skywalker we were talking about, so he can walk link for that and shut down that Dark Side Strain. I'm not sure if I would right now. Well, Bastian would, so that's probably the correct play. What I was thinking is I doubt Dark is going to want to spend 3 of their 12 force draining for 1. So why would I want to spend 3 of my force right now to pull that? What I would want to do personally is set up on a site and system if I can. I don't think you even have to go that hard to the system. If you pull Bright Hope for 3, Tana for 4 is 7, Blount for 2, that's 9. He has 11. I guess you couldn't go to both, but it's with Blount forfeit 6. I think you could probably even just pull Bright Hope, throw Blount on there, and just pay 5 force for space, and then you have 5 for the ground, and in which case you can do like Instant Chad, Bodhi, Taidu, and Ray. Maybe not and Ray, maybe one less of those. They're all -1 with 10 min, and you can then set up at the beach and at Scarif. Dark probably can't attack Scarif, and if they do, Blount has 6 forfeit, and you can come back with like a Tantive and another ship from hand. You can even do a Rogue One and a pilot, whatever. But he might also not want to set up too thin at the beach and give Matt an opening to drop down some EPPs, Mauls, and Kylos and stuff like that. And so Bastian's just playing a little safer. He says there's no need to rush to set up. He pays 3 for the Walkling. He's going to go ahead and deploy the projection on the site, I'm guessing. He pulls Bright Hope. Okay, that's what we were thinking. And I would think, okay, and he deploys Tanev too. Tanev gives him an extra icon at least, and he plays projection on the site. So he does set up the space at least. It's going to be hard to attack. Looks like they're going to revert for a second. He wants to pull battle plan. He decided not to play the projection, or I guess he decided not to. Just doing the battle plan. So if that's the case, I'm not sure I would have even pulled the projection. I might have just saved the force and then decided on this next turn if you need it. Because you could, if you had saved that 3 force and you got 4 saved right here, you could, you might not want to risk activating it, but you could always pull it at the end of opponent's turn if you decide you need it. And if you don't, you've got that extra force. But clearly Bastian did deploy it and then took it back. So maybe he had a particular idea in his mind and then sort of came up with a different plan. We're on Dark Side player's turn, so this is sort of a weird weird thing we're doing, jumping back and forth. So let's catch up our left side of the screen, and so that we can see what Dark's going to do on their turn. Okay, so we're here. Dark does not opt to drain. It's not worth paying for the drain of 1. They do get out Vader's Saber with I Am Your Father and drop a Grievous down. They're really intent on not letting Light have that Stardust. One interesting thing to me is there was a surface defense played earlier because we saw that in the opening hand, and it pulled Phantom Menace. So I'm wondering if Matt does not have Decree or if it was just active at the time. But since Decree is not out, if Light gets that Stardust, that 2 ping is just pretty brutal. So Matt really doubles down with the Grievous here and is like, all right, I want to lock this down. He goes ahead and just draws a few, probably is going to save a few. Any Force Push, that's a great card. Masterful, it'll get you the Gick if you have to spread. Character's not bad. So he does a Weapon Love just to get a card out of his hand. A lot of characters in his use pile. It's like, dang, why couldn't I just drawn into all those? Instead of this extra Vader. All right, so Dark, their turn's just getting out the Saber, fortifying the site. They'll probably start paying 2 to drain here because 2's worth it. 1's probably not. Switching back over to this side of the screen, that was the used pile when Weapon Love was played. He's like, man, I really want that Dooku, Mara, Doctory, and Maul. But of course, those were the force he spent on Grievous. And so Bastian activates here, and he goes to look for a docking bay. Really, he's just checking his reserve to see are there any ships I want to pull with my objective. Is there any what's in there? what's in my force pile. Am I gonna kind of planning out his turn, right? He's got a Ray that can do a used pile pull. Taidu can of course draw bottom of used, and so he kind of wants to know what's in that force pile. So when he's using force, what's he looking for? He can plot out a game plan here. There is a second projection, so he didn't even necessarily need to worry about activating it because that must have been used last turn. Probably wants to pull out that Hujix earlier rather than later, get that 5 back in and have that 1 out of the deck and also protecting him in his hand. So of course Bastian opts not to pay to drain too because he's going to be setting up some free drains here soon. So Taidu comes down and uses text to draw a card. Ezra, that was a great card to draw because she can go to one of the darks location and either reduce their activation, which going from 12 to 10 would just be brutal for dark, which means they probably have to just give light 2 extra force. So Ezra's a great one to get. And essentially made Taidu free because he cost 1 and then he drew 1 for himself. So it's just like as if you had drawn that card. So that's nice. Likely, and the other great thing about that for Bastian here is that flips him. Controlling these 2 Scarif locations, he's flipped to his objective, which means when weapons come down, once he's got some rebels in lost pile that he can place out of play, he can start canceling weapon destinies. He can move in his control phase. So if he puts them back up with Leia, he can move them over in control phase and drain, because of course she can't drain, but he can move a different spy over, drain with them, and then move to consolidate her. So it gives him some options being flipped again once he has some rebels in his lost pile, which likely will happen. Matt's going to start some damage here in a little bit. So goes ahead and plays Ezra to the executor site. I think that's interesting. I don't particularly like that because I don't think he's going to consolidate with Leia, because then why wouldn't you just deploy it straight to Leia's site? Which means he's going to leave these split. And what I don't like about that is Matt can just deploy someone to deal with one of them. I don't know, let's say this P-59 or whatever, especially someone with immunity, right? And kill Leia, and then move over and block the drain and chase. And so especially if he goes a couple guys, if he's got like Mara and Kylo or whatever, and they hit Leia and they kill her and they make him burn a Hujix, and one of them dies to Leia's destiny and the other just moves over and then is blocking that drain. Whereas I think if you throw Ezra to this Cloud City site, he is still doing now I'm all distracted. There's certain cards that for whatever reason I can never remember the gender of these cards. I always think Ezra to me sounds like a female name. I think it's just related to Esther or something in my mind. People always remind me that Ezra's a guy. Harksef, same thing. I always want to say her. I don't know why. Harksef just looks female to me. Anyway, Ezra's a guy. I got it. No need to leave flaming comments. But I think Ezra would have been better over at Cloud City. He'd still do his activate thing, and then if Dark wants to come down and kill it, they either strand a dude, or if the guy's still alive, it can't just move over and attack. And so, yeah, I prefer Ezra there. I'm sure Bastian had his reasons, or maybe not. It didn't think about it that much, or but I like putting Ezra at an isolated Twix, whether that's the castle or the security tower or something like that, rather than these sort of combined ones where the Dark can chase and block drains. So he does drop that Ezra, and I imagine he'll drop a few more of these guys at the beach. Ensign Chad comes down, costs just 1. Blount comes down, costs 1. These guys are all just forfeit 6, forfeit 5, forfeit 6. Just crazy forfeit. He drops the Ray, which is going to give him some more power, some an extra 1 to his destiny, and then the card draw that Ray provides, the use pile pull, of course, and then the card from bottom of force. So it's going to Bastian some card advantage there. Any opts for Padme? My thought on this is that Vader just blanking his guys is super annoying, especially once he does the 10-min pull for Saw. If Darkseid piles and has like 3-4 guys, and Bastian can put out Saw and put Padme there, so Saw can't be blanked because she's blanking Vader's text first. Then Saw's just going to be adding, right now it would be 3 if these guys moved in front. But if they add someone else like that P-59, that Thrawn, whatever, with Saw adding 4 or 5 to the attrition, you're just clearing out so many guys. Having that Padme is really nice for that. So now, looking at the board state here, we're basically here at the end of Bastian's turn. He's only got 2 force left. He plays a projection there because Dark would pay 3 to drain 2 with that Saber. Menace phase isn't out yet, and so he says, all right, I'm just going to make that a drain of 1, which means Matt probably will not pay for it, which means Bastian still is not losing. All that's in his lost pile is the original starting interrupt heading for the medical, and then the 1 force he lost a Visage at the beginning of Dark's first turn. So Bastian's everything's sort of going according to plan for Bastian right here. He's got a system locked down. He's got a site stacked really well. He's got some non-battlegrounds going. Of course, one of these doesn't really count because you can't drain there, but he's got at least one non-battleground going with some extra activation. I think kind of the only thing missing here is Luke. If you've got Luke there and you can start retrieving, then any damage Dark does get through, you just get back right away. I would totally give up the 1 ping Scarif drain to 1 ping retrieve when you're in this sort of match play situation. But short of that, Bastion set up pretty well, and that's kind of what No Idea does against Hundown. So beginning of the turn, as we see, Bastion gets to activate 2 force because Dark can't afford to go down to 10. So we'll switch back over to Dark here. Let's go ahead and catch Dark up. Light deploys all this stuff, deploys the projection. All right. So your Dark side here, it looks like he's going to play a force push, but and what do you do to attack this? All right. This is as fine a control as I can kind of jump between without. I want to see how much force he has. 14 force. All right, I'm going to jump back to get that out of the way. He's got 14 force. He can work with this turn. Paying 3 to drain 1 is probably not a winning proposition here. So probably if you are if you're Matt, you're looking at Bastion's hand size is 6, and you're going, he probably can't have a ton of evasion in there. If I can force a Hujix, attack somebody, he's got to deal with this, right? If he eats 2 here, 1 here, and 4 here, and he's eating 7 for free and maybe doing 1, he'll lose the entire match very quickly. So likely he's going to have to do what I discussed of really coming down on 1 and moving to block the other. Or you wouldn't even necessarily have to block Leia. He could just come down on Ezra, even trade a single guy. But it's generally not in Darkseid's favor to trade 1 for 1 because No Idea just has so many guys. Bastion saved some force, which indicates either maybe a reacting trooper, and it's a trap or barrier. There's a lot of things Matt has to be thinking about right here. That could happen with that 3 force, and if nothing else, retrieval with 10 min if Matt pulls his secret plan shield, as he should, as you know, if you're playing against No Idea, pull that shield. If you're playing against ISB, pull the aim high shield. I heard that's good recently. So assuming secret plans was out, if they do get in some battles and a spy is drawn, he'll have the force to pay. So saving some force there, even though Bastion only has 6 in hand, he's got pretty decent cards, right? The Ray doesn't help a lot unless this one dies, but this Ray can draw one of those 3 also on the dark side player's turn, and then draw another one on the light side's player's turn. And he's got Melshi, who can upload another trooper. He's got Bodhi, he's got an extra ship, which probably won't do much, but he's got a Hujix puller and then that Padme to blank Vader. So he's got guys, he's got card draw, and then so just saving that force it makes him look a little stronger, and he can still access it via paying for something like secret plans or raying into the cards or whatever. But I think Matt's going to have to go for some damage. Probably P-59 shot would be nice. If he can hit and overflow Leia, we know Bastion does have the the Hujix puller, but if you can grab that maybe with something special so it can't be walking back, trying to get damage through. That's what he's doing here. So he goes ahead and activates, and like we said, Ezra's gonna give Bastian 2 force. Oh, so Bastian must have been at 1, and then so Matt does a force push for no escape, which would be great to get back that visage, but of course force push goes on top, so that's unfortunate. But he's got no escape. I wonder what else was he looking at as options. So he's got a Maul, a Kylo, a Min, Vanny, some activation. He's got a barrier canceller, which could be really useful. Most of the rest of the stuff you don't really care about. You've got some pullers here. You've got like a anti-R2 card, in 3PO theoretically. Command is an interesting card in here. It looks like it's virtual Thrawn, so you can add a Destiny on the ground or limit them to 1 Destiny, or of course pull Thrawn. But yeah, there's not a ton of interesting stuff here. Probably one of these 2 characters, maybe the blast door controls. He opts for the no escape. I'm guessing for if P-59 comes down and shoots someone and is lost, you can do it again, getting that damage through, maybe, but just getting characters back, attacking and putting on pressure. So he grabs that no escape, and let's see what he does with this turn. He's got 15 force. Bastian does Ray a card, which let's go ahead and take a peek right now at what that is. He raised into a Jedi Lev. So now he's got 2 saved in that Jedi level. Let him get another character into hand if he does draw a spy in a battle. So Matt says he doesn't want to be giving 2 free force every turn, and of course Leia can't drain and Ezra can, so Matt decides to go attack Ezra. He drops Aura, P-59. It's going to be hard to hit Ezra with P-59. I mean, I guess if he draws a 4+5, but he does go ahead and play Thrawn. If he can hit with both these characters, he can do 2 damage, make forfeit 0, and just really cause some overflow if Bastian doesn't have the Hujix. So he draws a 6, which is going to make Ezra forfeit 0. And Bastian plays the escape pod, takes the Hujix into hand. So right here, we'll jump to that on the light sides too. So he takes the Hujix into hand. Matt does play that secret plans in case a spy is drawn for Destiny to make him pay. So Matt hits here with P-59, hits with both characters. That'll cause... I take it back. The flip side says their dudes are defense value +2. So Ezra is a 6, and of course P-59 drew a 5, +1 is 6. So no idea makes them very strong. So he misses that shot. If only he would have fired in the other... Well, no, because Aura would have missed then. I don't know. Since we know he has a Hujix, it's better for P-59 to hit and Aura to miss than vice versa. But he did draw a 6, I am your father, with the first shot. And another 6. He drew 656. He just didn't get one of the 6s for P-59. So he's massively outpowering Ezra here. 18-8. Bastian would have to peel 10, but of course Matt just saw him pull that Hujix with escape pod. So Bastian goes ahead and forfeits, or Matt forfeits Thrawn, and then it looks like, yeah, as Ezra goes lost, Matt chooses to play imbalance combo to retrieve the top non-maintenance, non-EPP also character in his reserve deck, or I mean in his lost pile, which of course is Thrawn. So he loses a force field from hand to grab back that Thrawn, and then Bastian will Hujix the rest of this damage. Which Matt does grab, because if Bastian, walkling that and then pulled it, got the puller again and got it back, and it would just... One of Matt's outs to getting Bastian down in enough forces, causing overflow, and you can't cause overflow through Hujix, so he does go ahead and grab that. And then he draws a couple, gets a Lord Maul and a Kylo, which were the two of the other cards I was saying, like, maybe you should consider those with his Force Push, and he draws into both of them anyway. So that was very fortunate. You know, he very well could have drawn like Sonic Sona or Sonic Wisa or not Wisa, but Accelerate. You know, some of those pullers we saw in there or whatever. But no, he gets the characters, and that's pretty good draw there for Matt. So whoop, I did not mean to make that full screen. All right, so I just want to get that out of the way. All right, so now we are back over. Hopping to the light side player's turn. They Hujix that battle, and now it is their go. So, of course, can't drain there, but light is going to drain 2 at the beach and 1 at the system. It looks like he just raid right there, draw the bottom of Force, and he got Menace Fade. So that's going to totally shut down this drain. If he plays that Menace Fade, Saber does nothing. Projection shuts it down. Bastian's taking no damage. He's at 29 there. He's set up pretty well. He's doing, of course, Matt still has 33 in deck, maybe 30 plus 8 in hand. So he'll have 38 still combined hand and life after these drains. So plenty of time for Matt to find cards like characters, which we know he has some now, and attack and do stuff and make Bastian. I mean, like I said at the beginning, his goal is really to make Bastian deploy cards. Defend stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him come down over here and really start forcing Bastian to defend that. But right now, Bastian's not taking any damage. He's got 29 there, and so he's looking okay. So he drains 2, and Matt loses Palpatine and Accelerate off of deck. Interesting, he's not losing that Downtown Plaza yet. See, he has an idea for it. Bastian checks his reserve and just looks at what's in there. He does deploy that Menace Fades, shut out that Saber damage. Deploying that Menace Fades here is essentially losing 1 card because that Menace Fades is lost. It's not ever going to get back in your deck. But if that even saves you 1 point of Saber damage during the game, it paid for itself. So it seems worth playing. So having checked with Insurrection, he saw Saw in the deck and uses 10 min now to go ahead and pull Saw. Another thing he could consider is pulling Van and Willard to start cycling and stuff, but that's just another lost card. It's I for a similar reason, I don't imagine we'll see him. We saw 2 evacs in the deck earlier. I don't imagine we'll see him deploy one just because it's so much cards out of your deck. So Bastian pulls out Saw, and he plays Saw with Leia, which I'm not sold on. Saw says the opponent can't modify your drains, but that shouldn't stop Hunt Down, because Hunt Down is just they can't initiate a Force drain. So Saw doesn't override that. Maybe now that his Hujix is grabbed, he's just worried about like a Maul coming down on Leia. And, you know, if Maul Kylo came down or something, which, of course, those are the ones we knew he drew, but, like, if, whatever, Maul Mar, like, if a couple dudes come down, hit Leia, draw, you know, a 5 or whatever, it might be Leia and 10, and then Bastian just loses the match. So he says, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and play some extra dude with Leia. And then he starts drawing a little bit. Peeks at a card in hand, which he sees the Maul, and he goes, all right, well, at least it's that Maul. It's not the double saber one. With that one, I can cancel and Bastian draws into a barrier, which is nice, and to keep your eyes open. So he's feeling very safe here. He's down, interestingly, to 24 in life force, which was what Matt won by. So Bastian cannot get a lot lower. He does have a lot of cards in hand he can lose. But he needs to, right now is the point where he's really paying attention to that life force, and he's got to grind through a lot of life force for Matt here. So it's going to be tough for Bastian to pull out this match. So, oh yeah, we're switching over to the other cam. So Saw comes out. It looks like Matt plays No Escape and takes Newt into hand. Newt was a card he lost to the drain, lost off the top last turn. Newt, and he says, I just want another character. I guess more dudes is good if you're going to challenge over here, and there's a lot there. Otherwise, for me, it's tempting to wait until you've got a really good character on the top of your deck. But that would only happen if they're lost in battle. And if they're lost in battle, probably the dark side's initiating, which means it gets covered up by drains on the light side turn. The light side probably isn't initiating battle into dark side in this game because they're just going to want to go wide. They're going to want to go to that 2-0 and that 2-0 and that 2-0 and just like be doing, this is a drain -1, but still they're going to be wanting to be going and not being the aggressor. So light battling and dark losing a good character is unlikely. Unlikely you'll be able to No Escape for one of your really good characters. So he goes ahead and just grabs an extra Newt. Newt can add a Destiny with Grievous, which is nice. So he'll probably be coming down over here. So he does No Escape into that. And plays him over to the Vault. Newt, a very cheap 3/4 is nice. He decides he needs to move out to the beach. So he goes ahead and moves Vader and Tarkin. With Saw gone, he doesn't have to worry about plus attrition, canceling an interrupt, anything like that. Oh, okay, and he moves over Grievous and Newt. If you're wondering, the reason why he played Newt there is the objective. Actually, I think that's only on the front side. I don't think it's for remainder of game. Let me look that up. No idea. Says, yeah, it's just well this side up. So Matt must have just forgot that or changed plans mid-turn. But if Bastian had been on the front side, deploying Newt there would have cost 2 more. And so it would have been cheaper to deploy him here and then pay 1 to move him. It saves you a force. But since he was flipped, that cost Matt an extra force. I'm not sure if Matt realized that it's not for a remainder of game, that it's just on the front side, or was thinking he might leave him here and then decided, no, that's not quite enough, because Bastian now with 10 cards in hand could come down with 3 or 4 more guys and just really outpower Vader Tarkin, and I can't afford to lose a bunch of guys now, lose board control. So maybe just mid-move decides, no, that's a little too weak, that he needs some backup. So Matt moves those characters over, blocks that drain. So he's only going to be taken, and with that, like I was started to say, with that Saw gone, he's not going to be adding a bunch to the attrition, which is nice. Of course, Vader would blank Saw, but we know that he's got Padme to blank Vader, so we got counters to counters to counters. But Dark's not too worried. Right now, they're only taking 1 damage, just that one Scarif location. They do want to really get light down, but Matt's got to be kind of happy to see that he's already at 24 there. He needs to basically get through his 10 cards in hand. He's got to do at least 10 more damage or make Bastian deploy at least 10 more cards, plus the amount that Bastian retrieves, which we know is at least Walkling. So after moving them over, Matt just saves all 4 force. He decides, he's only getting 12. He may want to deploy a couple guys together, and so he just saves his force here. He's got sort of all the characters he wants right now. So we are back over to light side's turn. Dark's just going to move over here. And light side drains for 1 at the Scarif system. Like we mentioned, Dark's not taking, neither of them are taking a lot of damage right now. They're just sort of posturing around a little bit. Bastian draws Torn Far from the bottom of his force pile with Ray, which puts him down to 23. So we're going to really I'm going to keep monitoring that number, because that's sort of key what's going to happen around there. Places Ezra out of play so that he can move over, which will give him another drain of 1, plus will give him 2 Stardust damage. So it's going to do 3 more damage. And if he was planning on evacuating this site anyway, getting rid of that Ezra. You don't have the weapons protection now anymore, but it's so hard to hit them with the +2 anyway, and he's got to keep your eyes open if a lot of weapons come out. So he's not too worried about having that extra rebel. Taking the 3 damage now when he's probably going to run anyway is pretty nice. He's happy to do that. So Bastian, he goes ahead and just runs. He's like, I don't want to deploy a bunch more guys from my hand to basically be lost cards, because I know I'm about to eat a drain of 2 here. Since the Saber will be shut off with Menace Fades. I don't know that I totally agree. I think Chirrut to this 2-0 to start doing some more damage would be nice, but I also understand that Bastion's like, every card I deploy is one less in my hand that I can lose to keep my life force high. So it's a delicate balancing act. Sebastian just really doesn't do it. He doesn't want to draw more because he's at 23. He's 1 less than he needs, and of course Walkling can pop him back to what he needs, and there's not really any used interrupts in there that he can do without the opponent deploying something. So Bastian can't afford to draw. He doesn't want to deploy other stuff apparently. Like I said, I think Chirrut could have been good, but so he holds pat. Dark does pay 3 to drain 2. That Saber will be canceled with fades. And Bastian loses Bodhi Rook and Rogue One from hand. Oh, we're switching cams. Hard to remember that. All right, so Dark drains. There goes Bodhi Rook and Rogue One. And let's see what Matt's thinking. Matt goes all the way to his move phase. He plays Lana Dobreed so that he can move Aura and P59 over to Scarif, to that data vault, which Bastian grabs because he doesn't want Matt sort of jumping around. I'm not sure. I don't know what else you grab against Hunt Down, so it's not bad. But there's not a lot of places to jump when these are the only 2 battlegrounds. However, maybe he's thinking if he strands someone at the security tower, he doesn't want them coming over and joining. So he does grab that. Like I said, there's not a ton else to grab. And as I mentioned earlier, a while ago, if Dark can really pile both these sites and actually take them over, then Chameleon Big Coward's just going to shut down everything for light side except that train of 1. And if that happens, Dark's just sitting really pretty. Even could potentially win the game at that point, besides the match. So Dark's just really going hard here. I imagine he'll move some dudes over to back that up. Plays a masterful move. Doesn't net anything with that because Phantom Menace is out. Gick must have been active. So he moves the Newt. He moves the General, and he leaves the Vader Tarkin over there in case the light side guys move out. Of course, they can't without a battle because Taidu is stuck there. They can't move. He can't move away while he's holding Stardust. So Matt does decide to just move everybody in. He says we're gonna be doing a battle here. Theoretically, if Bastian had a second Hujix, he can move everyone else out and just Hujix a Taidu battle. But if he doesn't, we're gonna be having a battle here. So Matt says, all right, let's do this. Let's move everyone in. I've got a Saber, I've got a blaster rifle, I've got P59 shot, I've got an extra Destiny with Tarkin, an extra Destiny with Newt, I've got a text blanking, whole bunch of stuff that I'm ready to fight. Let's do this. So that now we're on light to respond. That Vanny was the Destiny to Lana over, and he moves everyone in, and now we're on the light side's turn. They activate, and again they're only doing this 1 damage. Although he lost Bodhi Rook, he could use his objective to saw move over and drain 2 there if he wanted to give up the weapons protection, which he does. He's not planning on initiating into the dark side, but when the dark side player initiates on him next turn, he'd have a weapons cancel in his lost pile if he had a rebel. But no, he doesn't. He wants to put on some damage, and this is why I think Chirrut might have been good. Is another drain. Of course, that would have changed what Dark did. They might not have Lana. They might have dropped Kylo or Maul, and he might not just want a single guy, especially with Matt had saved I think 4 the turn before. So if he went Kylo, Maul, hit Chirrut, and overflowed him for 10, that's the match right there. So he's still playing cautiously. He does have that barrier. He does have that keep your eyes open. So I think he could have. But it's hard to tell when you're in that situation. How risky do you be to get damage through versus how safe do you be to not get beat down? That trade-off. So Saw goes over and drains, and light side looks for docking bay. Does not find one. He does drop the Padme to blank Vader's text, and we're gonna have that fight we were talking about. He drops Torn far. Torn's going to be nice because she'll be able to retrieve a rebel if he loses like Blount or whatever. Okay, now he does cheer it to the to that 2-0. So I'm not sure why he did that last turn when he had 10 force left. And Matt had just as many in force, so he still could do that same Maul Kylo. But I'm guessing Bastian at this point is looking at that hand size of 4 and going, all right, you probably, all you really had was that Lana to go over, and you don't necessarily have, escaped for a newt, so you must not be strong in characters in hand. You haven't really drawn much at all. So I think he drew 1 card a turn or 2 ago, so he's just low in hand. Now's the time to go ahead and make that play. Like I started to say before we played that, Tauren can retrieve or stack on evac control a rebel of ability less than 3 lost from that battle. So if he forfeits some of these dudes in a battle, she can get him back. That's nice for keeping his life force up. He is still just at that key 23, one below the key 24 number. So Chirrut comes down. Melshi is going to come down to the vault as well. And Leia, I imagine, will move over with some... Nope. He didn't bother with that, which is interesting because it feels like Saw could quite easily get beat down. He doesn't get a Destiny or anything. There's no reacting dudes. He does have the Rebel Barrier, but if there's an answer for that, yeah, I don't know. I guess because he won't have a Rebel to move Saw. He wants to do that drain at 2. He's hoping Matt doesn't have a lot to respond with, and if he moves Leia with it, he can't drain there. He'd have to have a Rebel to place out of play to move him again to drain. So he's like, I'm gonna get a little riskier. I'm deploying that Chirrut, and I'm leaving Saw by himself. I'm assuming Matt's gonna be devoting a lot of resources over here, so I'm starting to do some of that other damage. So we'll come back over to the dark side player's turn, which we know, even though he only has, so we'll jump through the light side player's turn. Saw drains, he drops a couple characters, and now it is dark side player's turn. They activate. We know even though his hand is small, it's good. He's got three strong characters, or 2 strong and a medium-ish character, and a sniper dark strike, which isn't that huge when they have a cancel, but right now we know they don't have a cancel available. So if he can get through the defense value +2, or do it on someone who's not a Rebel, a Rey or a Padme or whatever, if you can sniper them, you also get a ping damage from I Am Your Father. So he plays Kylo on top of Saw, and he plays Maul in front of Chirrut, who eats a barrier. And that was some discipline from Bastian not to play the barrier on the Kylo with only 3 cards left in hand. Yeah, interesting. And Matt decides to grab that. He thinks there's not going to be a ton of used interrupts abused in this game. So, imagine, so he battles the data vault, and Bastian uses that keep your eyes open to say, you've got 3 weapons there. I don't want you using them on me. Tarkin adds a Destiny, Newt adds a Destiny. Bastian transfers Stardust to Blount, and then has a second thought and transfers over to Melshi. The reason why you do this is you probably want to lose the character who has the Stardust. That way you have the flexibility to move out if you need to, or you can just grab it again in your control phase and then do the 2 damage, have any spy grab it. So you put it on the character you're going to lose to give you the flexibility of moving it away. And Melshi's a good one to lose because she can upload a trooper when she's deployed and when she dies. And so losing her and uploading another trooper is useful. So he says, Blount, I'm going to lose because Blount's only good against ISB. And then he goes, no, I'll lose Melshi because she can upload someone for me. So Dark draws 3 Battle Destiny. And gets a 4. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Blank by Simulacra mentions in the chat that he saw that Maul earlier with the free ride combo, so that's why he was saving the barrier. He knows the Maul's coming down, so he didn't use it on Kylo. That's a good point. So, Dark totals Destiny of 13, but Taidu subtracts 2 from it, makes it a total of 11. Meanwhile, Bastian, who's at 23, like we said, Life Force, draws a spy, which means he will retrieve with 10 men. Retrieves that Keep Your Eyes Open. So now he's back to 24, that number he needs, and he Jedi Levs the character back into his hand. So that he has just an extra dude, extra forfeit. And then he draws a Van Willard. So it still just draws a 2. He was hoping to draw higher, especially with Ray's +1, and maybe force him to lose someone important. But they're all kind of... Vader's obviously the most important, but beyond that, they're all kind of equally important. I might have... Like Grievous is good because he lets the Newt add 1 and vice versa. P-59's got the shot, so it's like, all right, whoever he's going to lose is like they're pretty similar. So here he forfeits Melshi. Well, I was talking about that. Let's look at the log of what's going on here. To the attrition, he forfeits Melshi, which of course relocates that Stardust back to the vault. And with Melshi, he uploads an indoor commando team. And then he has 7 attrition left, so he forfeits Ray. And then, like we mentioned, Torn Far is going to be able to retrieve that Melshi. Need to get like a water bottle or something. Retrieve that Melshi. The Rebel of Ability Lesson 3 just lost from that battle. So Bastian went from 23 down 1 that he needed. Now he's at he's back up to 24. 19 and 5. He has 24. Why is he just... He must have been at 22. He must have done a Ray draws. Oh, no, because he had to... Did he lose one from Keep Your Eyes Open or something? Because he retrieved 1 with 10 men, and he retrieved 1 with Torin, and then he Jedi Leved, which was just a 1-for-1 trade in his Life Force. So should have gone from 23 to 25. So I'm guessing he must have top deck 1 for that Keep Your Eyes Open. And so now... Matt battles over at the Executor. And he just draws Battle Destiny. I'm guessing... I don't think there's a Rebel in Lost Pile. I'm guessing Matt didn't want to swing, have him cancel it, and then have to lose 1 to his own Kylo. But I don't think there's a Rebel in Lost Pile. Because Torin just retrieved Melshi, and he used the only one to saw move. So unless he lost 1, top decked... I'm going to go back when he played the Keep Your Eyes Open and see what he lost to that. Because I'm curious if there's a Rebel in Lost Pile right here. Keep Your Eyes Open. As a lost interrupt. No, he lost Wedge in Red Squadron 1 from hand. So I don't think there's any Rebels in Lost Pile. I think he could have swung with impunity and hit that Saw and made him forfeit 0. So and that 4 Saw of course his defense value 5, but he drew a 4. As long as he doesn't draw a 1, he hits him, makes him ping lose a force to Kylo, and then right there quite possibly causes some overflow. he doesn't need any more. He's not battling anymore because Maul is barriered, so he doesn't need any more cards in his reserve. So yeah, I'm guessing he just didn't swing. Yeah, there was no Antilles maneuver played. I'm confused on that. I'm guessing he just didn't swing because he thought it might get canceled. He'd lose one to his own Kylo. But then you get Rebels out of his Lost, and I don't know. I think that would have been worth it, and definitely worth it when we know he didn't have any Rebels. Because then you hit Saw and you do an overflow, maybe 6 overflow, and just ending the match right here. But he moves Vader away. Matt wants to do damage. He's like, man, my life force is dwindling here. I was at 33 just a minute ago. Now I'm down to 23, and only 2 in hand. Matt, last time we checked in, he was at like 38 hand in life, and now he's at 25. He's lost or deployed 13 cards since then, and Bastian's still at that. Right now he's exactly at that 24 number, and so he's like, I gotta get some damage through. He moves the Lone Vader over, which I don't know that does anything, because Light can just not pick up the plans, move everybody out in front of Vader, and Dark can't drain here because of that projection. So just Vader by himself, Light can just drain one and move out and cause some other annoyance against, I don't know. So well, that was Dark's turn. They're trying to Matt's just trying to get Bastian below that number, and Bastian's desperately trying to stay above it. So let's jump through back to where we've got Vader move over. Kylo does not swing for some reason. Battles and just draws a 4 for Destiny. I don't know. I might have to ask him about that one. That's an odd one to me, because of course you swing there. All right, so light side activates. They're going to drain 1 at the system. I figure probably not pick up the Stardust. Drops a commando team. Thinks maybe I can get in a beatdown on Maul. Ray is going to give him... All right, so he takes Luke. So this is interesting, because if he drops Luke at the system, I mean, the system is his main source of damage right now. But it's only 1. And if Luke can start retrieving that lost pile, if Dark's getting in 0 damage and Light retrieves 1, Dark gets in 1, Light retrieves it, Bastian can really stay up at that 24 plus number he needs. So he grabs Luke with Rey, which is kind of cool. What it does mean is he'll have to get in other damage elsewhere. That means I'd probably be dropping Jaren Webb maybe to go over to Cloud City 2, because Maul's going to hit a guy. Well, he might not with if you play Saw out of play. I was thinking Maul hits a guy and then the others lost to attrition. But if you can cancel the hit and you just lose 1, you're still holding that. You're not going to overflow Maul most likely, but if he drew horribly and you drew great or whatever, but most likely you're not overflowing Maul. So it's really just a matter of, can I keep a dude alive here after killing Maul so that I can still threaten a drain there? And Jaren would guarantee that, but the cancel might also guarantee that. Battle phase, yeah, we see a battle, and this is where Bastian does want to initiate battle, because he's either tracking spies or he knows he's got enough spies. He's like, if I just can draw some destinies in battle, really retrieve, get that number up. He's at right now, because he used Rey to pull Luke, he went from that 24 number down to 23. So he's back to 23. But he needs to get some more retrieval in. Maul swings at the indoor commando team, and he draws a 3 and a 5, which is a hit. But like we said, Saw, yeah, there was no other rebels in there. He should have swung at Saw with Kylo. So he cancels that weapon destiny with the dead Saw, and now they each draw battle destiny. Of course, the indoor commando team only forfeits for 5. Oh, and he does draw a spy, so he's going to get to retrieve that Rey, and that puts him back from 23 up to 24. So Bastian's just hovering right around that number, and that's really making this interesting, is that trying to make that work. If Maul adds 1 to his total destiny, so if Maul... Oh, never mind. That's interesting. Maybe he wants that 7. No, because you draw Destiny the way that. So I don't know why Matt. This seems like another weird play to me. By not drawing Destiny with that Maul, and leaving both those guys there, he's basically conceding that site. He's saying, I'm gonna let you just have that drain of 2 for the rest of the game, because otherwise, if you're gonna come back and attack it, because you don't want to eat that drain, then why wouldn't you want one less dude there? The only reason is he doesn't want to rebel in Bastion's lost pile for a control phase move, but Bastion's likely going to be stacking all these guys. So a control phase move into... yeah, I mean, control phase moves doesn't help you here. Leia can't battle. Like, maybe you don't want him to have a weapons protection for over here if you can get a battle through. But, like, I feel like you should draw Destiny here, especially because Maul adds 1. So if you draw a 5, the commando team doesn't...
Oh, are they
forfeit +2 with insurrection? That would be really annoying. The commando team. Yeah, they're unique. Their ability 1. They got it. They're forfeit 7. So never mind. They would have covered. But still, you get one less dude there, and then you can go attack that turret. You're defending that site. With this now, Matt's basically saying, all right, I'm gonna let you drain there too all game. I'm conceding that, and he's hoping to get through another few points of damage elsewhere. But really, if Bastion even has to draw, Bastion's got to win with what's on the board, and that's really tough because he can't afford to draw any, whereas Matt can. But Matt's starting to get down there in resources. They both only have 2 in hand, and Bastion's putting on some damage. So he does battle. He does get to retrieve. That puts him back at that 24 number. And then with 6 force, let's see, he does start moving out to the beach. I imagine he'll move them all because, like we said, he doesn't want to draw anyway, and you don't just leave a couple in front of this squad that's going to be shooting someone and with no rebel to place out a play to stop it. And there's no need to defend this site right now just because it's a drain of 0 for Dark. I do think it's interesting he didn't play that Luke Skywalker. Like we were talking about, that ping retrieve from Luke could be really big. Especially now, of course, you couldn't have known this, but especially now that Bastion sort of conceded this site. And again, theoretically, he could come attack it, hit a dude, clear out the other dude. Like, it's possible that he goes back and attacks it and clears both, but it's a weird play to not draw Destiny there, because usually when you don't draw Destiny, you're stranding someone, right? And stranding someone at your own 2-0 to drain you is an odd decision. But now that he has conceded that, Bastian can give up this drain of 1, swap it over to a retrieve of 1, because he knows he'll be getting some consistent damage through right there, and just do 2, and retrieve. If he can do 2, retrieve 1, do 2, retrieve 1, he might be able to stay right around there. So he wants to get that Luke out. Unfortunately, he needed to save a bunch of force to move like 5 guys out of there, and that didn't give him the force to deploy Luke after he played the Ray, he played the Commando, played the Ray, he pulled the Luke, he battles, he pays to retrieve, and then he just doesn't, he needs to move everyone out. So no Luke yet, but he saves the force in case there's a battle. So Vader goes for a sniper on Padme. And Padme, of course, can't be protected by the objective, but neither can anyone else because there's no rebels in there because he didn't draw Destiny there last turn. So maybe, my guess is maybe he was thinking he was going to sniper, and so he didn't want him to have rebels to cancel. But if he was going to sniper someone like Padme anyway, then he shouldn't have cared if Commando team was dead. So I don't know. He swings with Maul. He draws a 4 and a 1, or with Vader. 4 and 1 is greater than her ability of 4. So he ping 1 damage with I Am Your Father, which Bastion loses from deck, puts him down to that 23 number. 1 below what he needs. Vader gets his text back. It's hard to imagine him battling though, so that not sold on why you'd sniper there. I guess if you're just thinking, well, Saw can't come back because he's out of play. maybe you want to be able to cancel Torrent's Far's tech so that Bastian can't just forfeit Blount and then retrieve him. So you trade the sniper for, and you get the ping damage with I Am Your Father. You trade the sniper for a ping damage and the ability to blank her if a battle occurs. This is probably reasonable. And then Matt starts trying. Sorry, we switched Darkseid's turn and we didn't switch the cam over here. So let's do that real quick. So Light battles out Maul. Maul does not draw Destiny. Just forfeits himself, and then Light moves all those dudes out. Dark does the sniper, kills Padme. He makes him lose one for I'm Your Father. And then he moves out Tarkin. He moves over Kylo in front of Leia. I guess he knows Leia can't battle him. She can't, move control phase, move away and drain because she can't drain at all. So might as well have Kylo in front in case you want to battle. Try and hit her and do some damage. Decides to move Kylo in front, moves Tarkin over. It looks like that's all he moves is Tarkin. So he says, all right, I need to be at both these sites. I can't keep taking as much damage as I am. I need to get you down a couple more, so I'm going to split so that you have to defend a little more. You have to deploy more cards, draw more cards. He wants to get him doing stuff. But with this site conceded, if Light can just stack here and not battle, and then if a battle does occur, of course, when I say stack here, Light has 2 cards in hand, of course. But even if he throws down that Jaren Webb and puts Luke up in space, and then if Dark battles, if Vader's not blanking Torrent Far, then he maybe retrieves with 10 min, he retrieves with Torrent, he forfeits a dude, retrieves it with Torrent. So he's probably blanking Torrent, but he's just losing, then Tarkin dies, maybe both, depending on power differential and everything. So it's not a bad place for Light to be in, but Dark has to force some sort of issue. He has to split there, because if he just keeps chasing, he's going to get drain 1, drain 2, and he's not losing any. Maybe every other turn, maybe he should just sit here at the beach and pay to drain 2 now that Bastion's so close. Now that he's at 25 total hand and life, maybe you should just pile everyone at the beach and force the issue and say, look, you have to sit in front of me or I'm draining you too, and just force through some battles, P59, maybe shooting somebody, 3 battle destinies, clearing out stuff, and just be like, all right, let's just sit here at the beach and battle, because if you run away, I'm going to drain you too, and you can't afford that at this point in the game. So I think that would have been a better play for Matt. But either way, he's trying to force some sort of issue. He's doing that by splitting them up. And he goes to his draw phase, and like we said, he doesn't have to worry about drawing, so he can look for more good cards, something that Bastian does not have the luxury to do. But he stops drawing there, and I don't really like that. He has 19 life force. He has plenty of life force. I would have drawn another 3 or 4. I mean, maybe he knows what's in his deck, and he knows he's just like gone through all his characters, and there's nothing really to draw for. We haven't seen Mara. Yeah, there might be some other random characters like a Sidious or something, but there's probably at least one more Maul in there. So I don't really like stopping drawing here with 7 left when this is your hand. The Monarch's useless. Emperor can't deploy where they have dudes, so he's not ideal. Maybe you could throw him to an Executor site to make it easier to chase down Leia, but again, Leia's not doing any damage. So you just kind of have these guys. I would have drawn a couple more. But now we're going to switch over to light side here. So here we've got... here light side drains at the security tower, and Matt loses Monarch and Emperor. And then he drains at the system. And he loses Accelerate. He does a Ray draw, which puts him down to 22. That's dangerous territory. But I think if he deploys this Luke, that will start getting that retrieval. So Bastian's still got He's got 4 spies in his deck of 10, so if there's a battle, he's got a 40% chance of getting to retrieve one. He still has the Walkling, but being at 22 when he needs 24 plus is scary. That Luke, though, there's 6 cards in Lost that could be pinged retrieve over and over. I think with just Vader Tarkin, like, you're not that scared of that. Him not moving, I think Matt should have moved everyone. Not doing that does give Bastian a little leeway still. He's not taking any damage because there's no drain at the vault, and he's stacked enough at the beach. He's not too worried about just Vader Tarkin. So Leia moves away. So he didn't deploy Luke, which I don't like. If you're just trying to win the game or something, sure, maybe you don't deploy him so you can keep that ping 1 damage in space. But I think I give up that space damage just for that retrieval. Every turn that goes on, getting 1 card back is pretty big. I mean, we're already on turn 8. If you could have found him 2 or 3 turns ago and had an extra 3 in life force right now, he'd be feeling so much better about life. So I think the earlier you deploy Luke, the better. Maybe he's worried about a Visage coming down here. And now that Kylo has taken over the Holo Theater, maybe he once Kylo moved over, he thought, I can't deploy Luke there because if Visage comes down, I need Luke to come down to the beach and flip him back. But even flipping him back doesn't help because Bastian's still losing to Visage himself. And Matt doesn't care if they're both losing to Visage. So the flip back doesn't really matter. I don't know. I don't know why Bastian did not play Luke. But he's in a hard spot. He's got 22 hand in life. He moves that Leia away. He does pop Walkling here. Doesn't have to worry about saving for it later. They're both aware that it's there. Gets back that Padme. Yeah, I don't think there are any rebels in Lost. So he just needs to. So now he's at 23. He needs to retrieve somehow. All right, so let's swap over here. We'll jump through this turn. Moves Leia away. Pops Walkling. Retrieves Padme. And now we are on Darkseid's turn. So Darkseid activates a bunch. And they have a Thrawn and Min. And he is going to attack Leia. He figures... So barrier's grabbed. Bastian would have enough force for another one, but that would then just be another point of damage, essentially. Figure there's not another Hujik, so he's like, maybe I can get some damage through on Leia. He's now up to 8 power. Where's her 3? She covers 6 forfeit, that's 9. So he's 8 to 9. But if you draw a 5 to his 2 or something, you're doing 2 more damage. Kind of stuff can add up. Oh, and here is a rarely used play. Grievous says if he is out of sight you control, unless he's alone, you can lose 1 to take him and the cards on him into your hand. So Matt loses 1 from his used pile to take Grievous into hand, and then play him on top of Leia as well. Matt right now is essentially going all in on this beatdown, because taking that away from over here really reduces your power there on Scarif. Newt can add with Republic character or character with Trade Federation in lore. And P59 does have Trade Federation in lore. So Newt can still add with P59, not just Grievous. But you're a lot weaker here. 6 less power. Yeah, this together, this split is not scary at all, and even these together is just 17 power. It is 3 destinies, a shot and a swing, so it's not something Matt or Bastian would want to battle into. But Bastian, it's less scary. So Matt's really going all in on this beatdown on Leia. He does the previous trick and does battle her. So now he's up 14-3 with 6 forfeit is essentially up 14-9. So it's going to be Leia and 6 minus the difference between their destinies. He draws a 4, so that's Leia and 10 minus whatever is drawn here for Bastian. He draws a 4, so it'll be Leia and 6 because its power, it's an 11 difference. It'll be 5. 11 minus her 6 forfeit is 5. And Thrawn dies on the other side. And now we know that Bastian, he's at, Bastian is at, he just started peeling there. He was at 23 life force and 3 in hand, so that's 26. And now he's got to peel 5 from Leia. That's going to put him down to 21 with Walkling gone. That's not a great spot. So he loses a Profundity. Jaren Webb wears Han from Use Pile, Kraken, and Baze, and now he's down to 19. Whoop. I don't know what I hit there. I think we were towards the end here. Yeah, so he I think it's jumping back because the replay ends right there. So if we look, yeah, that's annoying. I just want it to play one time after playback. I want it to do nothing. I just want it to stay. It seems like it should just stop. I don't know why it's jumping back to the beginning after yeah, but anyway, this is the point where Bastian conceded. Right now, if we look at the final board state, oh yeah, okay. I guess Matt's watching. He just added me on Slack and said we ended it there. So I don't know why my thing's jumping around, but yeah. So if we look at sort of the final numbers here, Bastian still has 2 in hand. He has Luke and whatever it was, but he's down to 19. I think if he had that Luke out, and it's still hard. Once he loses that 5, he's just so low. Even if Luke had been out the previous 2 turns and he had 2 more in life force, he'd be at 21 then. And the Luke would be out plus 1 in hand. He'd still just be down. Matt, it was a really strong move to pull that Grievous back into hand and just go all in on killing Leia there. Even that, just getting that 5 overflow was enough to push Bastian below, where they just go ahead and call the match. Like I said, I think Bastian easily pulls out the win here. He's doing 3 and Dark's not doing a whole lot. Dark might eventually take over the beach and Light might have to run. But if that happens, then Light can pick up Stardust again, do 2 more ping damage, and then they'll do a battle, and then Light runs again, and meanwhile just damaging. And but Matt was able to get Bastian down below that key number of 24. And so congratulations to him. Knocking off Bastian. You got to feel kind of bad for Matt. His Texas Mini Worlds has essentially gone like, all right, Matt, we're picking you as one of the 1 seeds. Good luck in your pod. And Matt's like, all right. And he goes 4-0 in his pod. He's feeling good. And it's like, oh, well, Bastian didn't win his pod, so you get to face Bastian round 1. Congrats. And Matt's like, all right, I got this. And he takes down Bastian. And now his next round opponent is going to be Desai. And that's not for sure. I believe Desai and JJD still have their second game left, but Desai won the first one by 34. So short of JJD beating Desai by 35 with, again, the decks already set before they play played that first game. It's unlikely JJD can win with a light side deck by 35, which means Desai will advance in that one, and that will be Matt's next game. So Matt goes 4-0 in his pod, and his reward is facing Bastian first and Desai second. But if he does beat Desai in the round of 8, he will get to the semifinals. So that'll be a fun one to watch. These two, I guess just stepping back and thinking about the match as a whole, we had two sort of uninteresting games that were only interesting sort of in the context of it's match play, so you got to get enough differential. And then we had Bastian sort of hovering around that 23-24 number for about half the game. And so it was like, oh, can he keep his diff up? But really, it was just kind of blowouts. No idea, just blowing out the CCT mains. No idea, kind of beating up on Hunt Down. Hunt Down just can't really get much damage through. So yeah, we got light side that won by 24, and then light side that's going to win by mid to high teens probably, just because dark can't get a ton of damage through. So yeah, it sort of came down to matchups on this one, and then the fact that that Matt was able to really push those little advantages, was able to really, especially in that CCT game, do lots of damage, not let Bastian ever really get a foothold, so he could keep a lot of pressure on and get those ping retrievals and get that diff up. So yeah, there we go. If you watch this, let me know. Send me a message on Slack or leave a comment, not on like Twitch or YouTube or anything, because I'm never gonna read those, but like on Slack or something, or on the forums. Leave a comment if this, I don't know how this like format went, because I just did it, and was it too disorienting having sort of the two different ones that we just jump back and forth between, and it's like, just put it from one perspective and just play the whole friggin' game from one perspective, and that's good enough? Or was that like, hey, cool, that was kind of different, it was interesting seeing the perspective from the light side player's turn and then the dark side player's turn and knowing what's in their hands and sort of going back and forth? Was that interesting, or was that annoying? Let me know, because it'd be easy enough to do something like this again. But if it's like, it was annoying going back and forth, then screw it, like won't do it again. So yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. Have a